discuss the impact of colonialism on the forest society, and explore the concept of forest as a resource in colonialism in context to Java. The Kalangs of Java were a community of skilled forest cutters and shifting cultivators. They were so valuable that in 1755, when the Matram kingdom of Java split, the 6,000 Kalang families were equally divided between the two kingdoms. Without their expertise, it would have been difficult to harvest teak and for the kings to build their palaces. When the Dutch began to gain control over the forests in the 18th century, they tried to make the Kalangs work under them. In 1770, the Kalangs resisted by attacking a Dutch fort at Joanna, but the uprising was suppressed.
Dutch scientific forestry. In the 19th century, the Dutch enacted forest laws in Java, restricting villagers' access to forests. Now, wood could only be cut for specified purposes like making river boats or constructing houses, and only from specific forests under close supervision. Villagers were punished for grazing cattle on young stands, transporting wood without a permit, or traveling on forest roads with horse or cattle.
Around 1890, Suronteko Samin of Randu Blatung village, a teak forest village, began questioning state ownership of the forest. He argued that the state had not created the wind, water, earth, and wood, so it could not own it. Soon, a widespread movement developed. Amongst those who helped organize it were Samin's son-in-laws. By 1907, 3,000 families were following his ideas. Some of the Saminists protested by lying down on their land when the Dutch came to survey it, while others refused to pay taxes or fines or perform labor.
War and deforestation. The First and the Second World War had a major impact on forests. In Java, the Dutch followed a scorched earth policy, destroying sawmills, burning huge piles of giant teak logs so that they wouldn't fall on Japanese hands. The Japanese then exploited the forest recklessly for their war industry, forcing forest villagers to cut down forests after the war. It was difficult for the Indonesian Forest Service to get the land back.
Since the 1980s, governments across Asia and Africa have begun to see that scientific forestry and the policy of keeping forest communities away from forests has resulted in many conflicts. Conservation of forests rather than collecting timber has become a more important goal. The government has recognized that in order to meet this goal, the people who live near the forests must be involved. In many cases across India, from Mizoram to Kerala, dense forests have survived only because villages protected them in sacred groves known as Saranas, Devarakudu, Kan, Rai, etc. Some villages have been patrolling their own forests, with each household taking it in turns instead of leaving it to the forest guards. Local forest communities and environmentalists today are thinking of different forms of forest management.
Impact and legacy. Disruption of local communities. Colonialism severely impacted forest societies in Java. The Dutch introduced scientific forestry, which restricted the traditional practices of local people, such as shifting cultivation and woodcutting. Environmental impact. Forests were cleared on a large scale to meet the colonial demand for timber. This led to deforestation and environmental degradation. The local people lost their rights to the forests and were often forced to work as laborers. Colonial legacy. The effects of colonial policies can still be seen today. Many forests in Java are under government control, and the traditional connection between local people and the forests has been weakened. As we reflect on the impact of colonialism on forest societies, we must ask ourselves, can we now find a way to manage our forests that respect both the environment and the people who depend on them?